Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist, a student of natural law, and an energy healer. And I'm going through this book, The Kybalion by the Three Initiates, which was published in 1908 anonymously. I feel that it's like an hors d'oeuvre platter of hermetic principles, which are basically natural law principles. They are principles which govern the behavioral consequence of beings who have the capacity to know right from wrong. And I say this is an hors d'oeuvre platter because there's so much more to this. And if you're interested in other literature that I've discovered and used, I'm happy to provide that for you. Just I'll leave my email in the description and you can send me an email. I'll be happy to send some material over that I think is very helpful. There are many different tools out there available, but only certain ones that I find personally have depth and weight. And I will also add that living by moral principles, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you, is exceptionally important in utilizing these principles, because I don't believe I would have access to the power that I have access to today if I wasn't living by moral principles, which is actually stated in the literature. Most of this work was handed down orally. So there are only a few different books, a few different authors who have practiced this stuff successfully. And usually it traces back to, I'd say, 3 or 4 different sources. So again, I'm happy to provide deeper work if anyone's interested through email. So I'm just going to read from page 23, chapter 3, mental transmutation. Mind, as well as metals and elements, may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. True hermetic transmutation is a mental art, the Kybalion. So, again, the first principle of Hermeticism is the all is mental. And what I will say about that is that, we have the outside world that we use our 5 senses for, and our 6th sense, intuition. And then we have the inner world, which I will say these days it does seem as though we're being persuaded to ignore the inner world, which the inner world has multi dimensions to it. Like, you can really travel astrally through the inner world. And there's much more available there that you then bring to this physical world. I think that's what they're talking about here personally. And it's transmutation is a mental art, happens in the inward journey. As we have stated, the Hermetists were the original alchemists, astrologers, and psychologists, Hermes having been the founder of these schools of thought. From astrology has grown modern astronomy. From alchemy has grown modern chemistry. From the mystic psychology has grown the modern psychology of the schools. But it must not be supposed that the ancients were ignorant of that which the modern schools supposed to be their exclusive and special property. The records engraved on the stones of ancient Egypt show conclusively that the ancients had a full comprehensive knowledge of astronomy, the very building of the pyramids showing the connection between their designs and the study of astronomical science. Nor were they ignorant of chemistry, for the fragments of the ancient writings show that they were acquainted with the chemical properties of things. In fact, The ancient theories regarding physics are being slowly verified by the latest discoveries of modern science, notably those relating to the constitution of matter. In other words, they knew about energy being the source of matter in quantum physics in ancient Egypt. And we're just discovering it now, which shows, either cataclysm that obliterated the knowledge, and or a priest class that felt that they didn't want the regular masses to know, and so they kept the knowledge secret. And then as a result of that, they were violating natural law by doing that. Really, they were, because the knowledge should be available to everyone. And as a result, it turned sour, and now we have that knowledge is occulted, and there's a power differential being used against us now, as we all probably know, which is why we're studying this stuff. Nor must it be supposed that they were ignorant of the so-called modern discoveries in psychology. On the contrary, the Egyptians were especially skilled in the science of psychology, particularly in the branches that the modern schools ignore, but which nevertheless are being uncovered under the name of psychic science, which is perplexing the psychologists of today and making them reluctantly admit that there may be something in it after all. So, this was written in 1908 or whatever, published, and not too long later, I guess, the CIA evolved and began to explore this themselves from a nefarious purpose and way by using the hemisync model and also Operation Paperclip MK Ultra, where they used torture to create alternative personalities in a person so that they can explore the inner world for the purpose of military, remote viewing, spying, etc. So they are well aware of it now, but they've just kept it secret for their own use. The truth is that beneath the material chemistry, astronomy, and psychology, that is the psychology in this phase of brain action, the ancients possessed a knowledge of transcendental astronomy called astrology, of transcendental chemistry called alchemy, and of transcendental psychology called mystic psychology. They possess the inner knowledge as well as the outer knowledge, the latter alone being possessed by modern scientists. Among the many secret branches of knowledge possessed by the Hermetists was that known as mental transmutation, which forms the subject matter of this lesson. Transmutation is a term usually employed to designate the ancient art of the transmutation of metals, particularly of the base metals, into gold. The word transmute means to change from one nature, form, or substance into another, to transform. Webster. And accordingly, mental transmutation means the art of changing and transforming mental states, forms, and conditions into others. So you may see that mental transmutation is the art of mental chemistry, if you like the term, a form of practical mystic psychology. However, it also includes being able to manifest matter with your mind, as well as telekinesis, extrasensory perception, reading of minds, transferring your consciousness into other beings, countless other ways. Besides the obvious ones of, just changing your moods from negative, low frequency moods to a high frequency, optimistic mood. But this means far more than appears on the surface. Transmutation, alchemy, or chemistry on the mental plane is important enough in its effects to be sure, and if the art stopped there, it would still be one of the most important branches of study known to man. But this is only the beginning. Let us see why. The first of the 7 Hermetic principles is the principle of mentalism, the axiom of which is, quote, the all is mind, the universe is mental, end quote, which means that the underlying reality of the universe is mind, and the universe itself is mental. That is, existing in the mind of the all. We shall consider this principle in succeeding lessons, but let us see the effect of the principle if it be assumed to be true. If the universe is mental in its nature, then mental transmutation must be the art of changing the conditions of the universe along the lines of matter, force, and mind. I've had this experience through prayer myself, but it requires a surrender to the greater power, and it's always done best with others, but I've experienced it both with others and alone. So you see, therefore, that mental transmutation is really the magic of which the ancient writers had so much to say in their mystical works, and about which they gave so few practical instructions. If all be mental, then the art which enables one to transmute mental conditions must render the master the controller of material conditions, as well as those ordinarily called mental. So, you know, we already know, like, HARP is trying to control the weather, and they do that in a variety of ways, you know, including chemtrails and also probably DEW weapons, and also frequency through the air and the ocean. However, using mental exercises and discipline, we individually could also control those things ourselves, and then we wouldn't be beholden to those fake powers that are trying to enslave us. As a matter of fact, none but advanced mental alchemists have been able to attain the degree of power necessary to control the grosser physical conditions, such as the control of the elements of nature, the production or cessation of tempests, the production and cessation of earthquakes, and other great physical phenomena. But that such men have existed and do exist today is a matter of earnest belief to all advanced occultists of all schools. That the masters exist and have these powers, the best teachers assure their students, having had experiences which justify them in such belief and statements. These masters do not make public exhibitions of their powers, but seek seclusion from the crowds of men in order to better work their way along the path of attainment. Well, these days, it's the dark occult that have those powers, but we also can have those powers. I personally know that, and it is our responsibility to exercise our minds in that way so that we can individually work towards working together and saving humanity and the earth and nature and all other sentient beings on earth against the powers that are trying to kill us off and enslave us. That's my point of view. These masters do not make public, oh yeah, I read that already. We mention their existence at this point merely to call your attention to the fact that their power is entirely mental and operates along the lines of the higher mental transmutation under the Hermetic principle of mentalism. The universe is mental, the Kybalion. But students and hermetists of lesser degree than masters, the initiates and teachers, are able to freely work along the mental plane in mental transmutation. In fact, all that we call psychic phenomena, mental influence, mental science, new thought phenomena, etc., operates along the same general lines, for there is but one principle involved no matter what the name the phenomena be called. The student and practitioner of mental transmutation works among the mental plane, transmuting mental conditions, states, etc., into others, according to various formulas, more or less efficacious. The various treatments, affirmations, denials, etc., of the schools of mental science are but formulas, often quite imperfect and unscientific, of the Hermetic art. The majority of modern practitioners are quite ignorant compared to the ancient masters, for they lack the fundamental knowledge upon which the work is based. Not only may the mental states, etc., of oneself be changed or transmuted by Hermetic methods, but also the states of others may be and are constantly transmuted in the same way, usually unconsciously, but often consciously, by some understanding the laws and principles in cases where the people affected are not informed of the principles of self-protection. And more than this, as many students and practitioners of modern mental science know, every material condition, depending upon the minds of other people, may be changed or transmuted in accordance with the earnest desire, will, and treatments of person desiring changed conditions of life. The public are so generally informed regarding these things at present that we do not deem it necessary to mention the same at length. Our purpose at this point being merely to show the Hermetic principle and art underlying all these various forms of practice, good and evil, for the force can be used in opposite directions according to the Hermetic principles of polarity. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of it being used for evil, but I'm sure that others are using it for good now. And that's what I'm encouraging. In this little book, we shall state the basic principles of mental transmutation, that all who read may grasp the underlying principles and thus possess the master key that will unlock the many doors of the principle of polarity. We shall now proceed to a consideration of the first of the Hermetic 7 principles, the principle of mentalism, in which is explained the truth that the all is mind, the universe is mental, in the words of the Kybalion. We ask the close attention and careful study of this great principle on the part of our students, for it is really the basic principle of the whole Hermetic philosophy and of the Hermetic art of mental transmutation. So I'm going to stop there. Next week, I'll pick up on chapter 4. And what I've noticed just by starting this study is the information is just flying to me out of the ether. The time is now.